Hi, my name is Professor Cordes, and this, ladies and gentlemen, is the Week 3 lecture video for English 123 Intermediate Composition. This week, ladies and gentlemen, we're going to be talking about annotated bibliographies as well as the thesis statement. This lecture video may actually be pretty short because during Week 2, we talked about annotated bibliographies and what those look like. And so we are building on the research that we've done, and we are going to continue to evaluate and analyze and synthesize our research into these annotated bibliographies. So first and foremost, one of the things that you'll need to do is make sure that you get this reading done first. Our book does a fantastic job of kind of outlining, here's what goes into an annotated bibliography, and answer these questions, and it will help you process and write out your annotation. Please make sure that you read that first. There's actually two assignments for the annotated bibliography this week. The first one is the pre-writing. The pre-writing is where you go into the text itself, the guide to writing annotated bibliographies in our textbook. Under each stage, they're going to ask you a series of questions. Not all of these questions are going to apply to your research. Some of them may actually they may not apply depending upon what you're writing about and depending upon your topic. So you need to kind of pick and choose what's most beneficial so that you can explain yourself well. So for this, we are looking at these four components, and in the textbook itself, it will guide you through specific questions. So answering these questions in regards to your research will be super beneficial because this actually then plays into your annotated bibliography that you're putting together. So with that being said, for the pre-writing, you're going to take your resources that you've done. And it says here, you're going to work on these through stages throughout the week. So if you've got all of your resources in front of you, your articles, your books, your websites, whatever, you're going to slowly go through and look at what is the rhetorical situation that's being presented. How is this engaging in our conversation? How does this generate new ideas about the subject, about the area of study, about the position that you're trying to argue? What are the ways in which you can organize this, as well as taking stock of your work? Taking stock of your work is kind of a weird term, but you kind of have to understand the validity. How academically valid is this work? Okay. So with that being said, work on this throughout the week. These are going to be bullet points. These are going to be short sentences. These are going to be your thoughts kind of placed into the different articles that you have in front of you. So I keep going like this simply because I could see myself putting my articles in front of me and answering the questions as I see fit. I would rather sit and say, what is the rhetorical situation for resource A, resource B, resource C, and move along the way. And then that way kind of stay in the same framework as we go through. So that's the pre-writing. This actually, ladies and gentlemen, leads into your annotated bibliography. The annotated bibliography, if you look, you need 8 resources. Originally, we kind of practiced with 3 resources during week 2. Now, what you are doing is you're getting that solid annotation for at least 8 of your resources, okay? And by putting together those resources, you are then putting, essentially in your mind, you're putting together how this is going to support your actual topic in your paper. So a lot of people think that this is redundant, like we are writing something that's not going to apply to our final paper, but in reality, it connects so well because it helps set us up for success with how to support our thesis statement, which we'll talk about in just a moment. But the annotated bibliography, what it looks like is your annotated bibliography must include 8 academic resources. Up to 5 of those will be the readings from the They Say, I Say textbook if you would like it to be. They don't have to be. Each resource needs to be followed by a paragraph of annotation. And that paragraph annotation must include at least 3 things. 1, it needs to briefly describe the source and its argument. So what is the content of that resource? Number 2, evaluate the effectiveness of the argument. How well do they propose their thesis and support their ideas with research? And then 3, speculate how this will be used in your own research paper. So how does this content, this article, this book, this website, contribute to the academic conversation that you are engaging in for your paper? Okay. You're going to do that for 8 resources. So it takes a lot of time to kind of process through all of those. I would suggest maybe working on 2 annotations a day so that you can get done and still have time to review your work, double check for MLA format. You'll notice that this is due day 7, so it's due at the end of the week. However, I would offer yourselves like a 24-hour period where you're able to process through, is this my annotation? Is everything correct? Do I have proper grammar? Because if you look, here are the things that you'll be graded on. 1, did we get all 8 resources? Is all of my citations done properly? Did I describe the work itself? Do I offer relevant commentary that discusses the importance and effectiveness of the argument? Okay. How well did I present my information? Format looking, solid. And then are my resources academically sound? Are they reliable? Okay. Am I looking at Joe Schmo's website that he put up, or am I looking at an academic professor who has a PhD in his subject area? Is this a well-known published book, or is this a self-published book? Like, you need to kind of identify what is valid and what is not. So these are the ways in which that you will be graded and critiqued. And so please make sure that you are walking through that and identifying all of those things. The last component is your thesis statement. And this is going to be a discussion board simply because we want to be in dialogue with our classmates and kind of help each other out. You now have been entrenched with this idea for like 3 weeks. It is time to have someone else kind of speak into your subject area and offer some insight. Please read this carefully, the thesis statement description that is offered here. They kind of offer you how to put a thesis together and what it says. I don't need to read it for you word for word. But what I would like you to do is to remember that a thesis statement is the point that you're trying to prove. And the thesis statement should be threaded throughout your entire essay. So even as you chunk together your writing, you are stopping and pausing and coming back to, this is what I'm talking about. This is what I'm discussing. This proves my point. So as an example, if I get an argument with someone and we are arguing about the dishes in the sink, okay? And we're arguing about the dishes. We're arguing about how I never clean up, how I leave the house a mess, whatever. The point is that the dishes have to get done, okay? And if that's my thesis statement, as we continue in the argument about the floors or the laundry or the yard work or whatever, we still have to come back to the dishes still need to get done. It's a lot of times whenever we're in an argument or a discussion, we'll start at one point and we will rabbit trail all over the place and then land on something completely different. The thesis statement helps us string everything together so it's cohesive and that it makes sense. So if, as I used before about my discussion about male relationships in adolescence, the idea that psychologists identify this cognitive and human development in relationships, that strung through my paper to say, look how it is here, and then connect back to my thesis. Look how it's done here in this piece of evidence. Look how it connects back. So the idea is that as you have your thesis statement, I always use the sentence starter. The point I'm trying to prove is, and I begin writing simply because that helps me stay on track of, this is what I'm trying to prove. This is the piece that I am contributing to my conversation. So this is a great resource for you here, what they have on on Blackboard. If you go over to Al Purdue, they're going to have the same thing, tips and examples for writing a thesis statement. So the thesis statement, as you come in, is determining what kind of paper that you're writing. They got a free little marker thing here. And then there's, for an analytical paper, an expository, an argumentative paper that claims the topic. This is you guys right here. So the claim can be an opinion, a policy proposal, an evaluation, cause and effect, an interpretation. You kind of have to decide what it is and how you want to articulate that. Okay. Your thesis statement should be specific. It should cover only what you want to discuss in your paper. Usually appears at the end of the first paragraph and talks and discusses about your paper as a whole. So when you come to your thesis statement, you are creating, here's what my essay is going to talk about. Here's the academic discussion, and here's where I'm going to contribute. So as you go through your paper, you'll have your resources to support that thesis statement, and you constantly begin to reference back. Okay. So take some time. It looks here, it says you can have anywhere from like 2 to 3 sentences. If you can get it in one solid, cohesive sentence, congratulations, that's awesome. But you are really looking for what is that thesis statement that's going to help move your paper along. What is that going to drive your paper for 10 pages that you are constantly going to come back to and reference to. Okay. And it may shift and change. You may write your thesis statement and get halfway through and realize you may need to tweak a little bit of your thesis statement, and that's perfectly fine. So take the opportunity to kind of brainstorm this. Keep this on the back burner as you conduct your annotated bibliographies, because as you piece together your annotated bibliographies, you've got to think, well, what is it that I want to prove? This person proved this person proved that, this article says this. However, what I'm going to say is this, and you're contributing to that conversation. So keep the thesis statement in the back of your mind as you go through that annotated bibliography. Okay. Just like always, if you have questions or concerns, just let me know. If you want to shoot me an email and say, this is what I'm thinking about for my thesis, let me know. I will respond back within 24 hours. But continue on, enjoy this process. You are slowly building your 10-page critical assignment by doing all of this work now. So you are picking up steam as you progress towards that end goal. Okay. Have fun, and I will talk to you soon.